With the release of War for the Planet of the Apes this weekend, I thought it was time to kind of revisit the other ones in this trilogy and rank this trilogy from worst to best. I'm going to be honest though, there really isn't a worst in here, it's just kind of like which one did I enjoy more and which one did I think was the best. But let's get into it. So before I do mention anything else on this list, I do want to recognize the original and the horrible remake that Tim Burton did, and say this. I was going to include them in here, but I felt like this trilogy really just deserves a video of its own. So for just saying for sakes, if I were to put those in here as ranking, Mark Wahlberg's and Tim Burton's one would be the very bottom one, and then the Charlton Heston one would actually come in at number 4. I rewatched that and these ones, and I find it to be number 4 because this trilogy is really damn good. That might be an unpopular opinion, but oh well, that's what YouTube is. I'm supposed to express my opinion, you guys express yours down in the comments if you're yelling at me. Or if you agree with me, that'd be cool too. And come down is what my bottom list for the trilogy is going to be. This isn't because I didn't enjoy it, but I just felt like this is the one that deserves to be at the bottom, and that's going to be the very first one in the whole trilogy, and that's Rise of the Planet of the Apes. The reboot came out in 2011. I think a lot of people were kind of like wanting to stay away from it because the Mark Wahlberg and Tim Burton one was so bad. No one really cared about this franchise at the time, and it turned out to be a sleeper hit in my opinion. It did make money to come back and do a sequel, but it was one of those sleeper hits that I think people found out more and were like, hey, that home video, they watched it and they're like, damn, this is really good. But that's how I was. My grandma took me to see the movie and I was like, wow. That was actually really good. I'm very surprised. Of course, you have James Franco in here, who at the time was pretty much going into Pineapple Express and doing movies like that, and he comes and does Planet of the Apes, and you're like, James Franco in this? It kind of reminisced of when he would act in Spider-Man, and I actually really like that. Of course, Andy Serkis is phenomenal in this movie as well. I mean, him playing Caesar, this is a movie where it was more human-centric than ape-centric, and as the franchise gone, we see more ape-centric than human-centric, and that's fine. This movie, you really see why the apes are getting how they are, and a big moment in this movie that I remember visually well, even when I haven't seen the movie in a long time, is the one scene where he says, no. And that's the scene that I just remember in this theater, everyone just went silent when he tells Tom Felton's character, no. And that was the scene that that was the scene I was so hooked on. And then, of course, the scene on the Golden Gate Bridge was fantastic as well. This is the thing. This is the more lighthearted of all the Planet of the Apes, and it's still very good. It's just after Matt Reeves took over, I felt like it went into a different tone and different shift change, which was not a problem. And it's very cool to see Matt Reeves actually be able to do that without it feeling so jarring, because it felt like it still ties into the whole universe in a whole. Now, coming in at number 2, this was a really hard one, I'm not gonna lie. War and Dawn are so damn good. I'd give them equally the same score, but I'm going to give number 2 to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, the second one in the Centric series is number 2, and it deserves it. Dawn is such a fantastic film from start to finish. It really tonally changed the film for what it was, and Matt Reeves comes in to direct, and he came in mid-production, I think, because Rupert Wyatt left, and I think Matt Reeves took over very well and did a good job with what he was doing. This one pretty much just takes place a while after James Franco, his character, has passed away, and now there's a new character, Malcolm, played by Jason Clarke, who I actually really like Jason Clarke. You also have Gary Oldman in there, Kerry Russell, and Gary Oldman's pretty much just human faction. This is the thing I thought these movies all did well, especially this one overall, is they gave Gary Oldman, who's pretty much the villain of the movie for the humans, and you understand why he cares. He just wants to save the humans, and you understand that Jason Clarke's character is understanding to that, but he also wants to help the apes, because the apes aren't completely bad, because there's one bad ape named Koba, who you understand Koba as well, and I think Koba is one of the best parts of this film. Koba is obviously brilliantly played by Toby Kebbell, and I thought Toby Kebbell, this is the movie that really hit me, and I'm like, Toby Kebbell's a really good actor. We should really look out for this guy, and I mean, if you've seen other things that he's been in, besides Fantastic Four, he's very good in them. He's always been an emotional, jarring character to me. Monster Calls, Warcraft, surprisingly, he did a good job in there too, and for me, this is one of the movies that I think this is one of his best performances. Koba, you just feel the darkness that he has for when he was abused by the animal owners, and I mean, you see that in this film. You see how darkness has evaded him and how he hates humans that much, and he wants to cause war with the humans to kill them all, and Caesar doesn't want that. He just wants them to live in a part, And seeing how Koba and Caesar's rivalry starts bickering back and forth is very well done in this movie and executed so damn well. And it brings for a darker tone for the film. I really like this movie. I think Dawn also has probably the best action in the whole franchise. I do want to say the action in here is better than War. I think this action in here is so intense and so on the edge of your seat that you're just sitting there like wondering what's going to happen next. And I thought Dawn was just overall such a fantastic movie and a very surprising film because, like I said, came off Rise, which I thought was an enjoyable film and I really liked Rise, but Dawn really changed the whole franchise for what it became to be. Apes on horses, and it's just really such a fantastic film. And just the development between Caesar and Maurice and all these different characters, especially Son in here, who gets a little bit more in here as well and gets a good arc. I really like that all, and I like to see what they did with all the characters in here and how they've more focused on the apes than the humans. And that's a very risky move for even a big budget studio to do, and a director to say, hey, we're going to focus more on the apes. Because that's hard. That's a hard marketing to sell, and I think they did a good job on marketing it well at the time and showing it in the movie because it gives a great balance between the humans and the apes, but also mostly showing we're cheering for the apes to win this. And Koba's an asshole, but you understand what he's doing, right? I mean, I also want to say this. Koba gives some scary-ass images in this film, and overall, Dawn is one of the best sequels to a film ever. So we're gonna come down to my number one for this franchise, and it's the last one, obviously. It's War for the Planet of the Apes. I think I might be in the minority for this one. I think a lot of people are probably gonna enjoy Dawn more than War, just for the fact that Dawn has a faster pace than War did. I'm not giving War any crap or anything, because I actually appreciated the pacing that they had for War. War was more an emotional hitting film with a lot of slower paced movements, but still moved at a very fast pace, and it just felt slower in the little bits that happened in the film. I think War overall is a better film than Dawn. The only thing I think Dawn had over this film was the action sequences. I think the action sequences in Dawn were 10 times better than War, which is not a bad thing because War still has some really beautifully filmed action, but I think War was more of a personal story and censorship to show where Caesar's going to go within this universe. And I really appreciated that. I said in my review, the Colonel, Woody Harrelson, was probably the only minor complaint I could have. I felt for his character. I liked him. I just wanted a little bit more of him. I didn't think we got enough of him. But War is such an emotionally riveting film, and I've said this so many times. Anytime someone asks me about the film, I tell them it's riveting, it's thrilling, and it's emotional. Those are the three big things that describe this film. The score in here is the best out of all the movies. Michael Giacchino really blew it out of the park on here. This is one of the most memorable scores I've heard in a very, very damn long time, and it adds to all the tension and the emotion in the film. When you see the film, if you have not yet, you can totally feel it and you'll totally understand. If you have seen it, you're gonna kind of start thinking back and be like, yeah, that score was really well done. And I really never pay attention to the scores. It takes a lot for me to pay attention to the score, and this one I have to really applause for. This might become as a little spoiler, so if you haven't seen War, stop right here, come back later, and come back and finish this video, because I do want to talk about a little bit of the War. It's nothing big serious, but I want to talk about why the War elements in here work. Here's your warning. The War elements in here are because it's kind of like an intern encampment for the monkeys, and the slave labor they would put the monkeys to work and build this giant wall. It was really cool to see how they brought that into be the war aspect, because there is an action sequence, but it's between humans versus humans who have different ideologies than monkey versus humans, and that was something different to see, because obviously all the humans were kind of uniting together, but when two different ideologies come together, war's gonna obviously happen between two humans. That becomes Woody Harrelson's character and a different faction of humans. The thing with this whole sequence overall is, like I said, the internment camp for this movie was so damn realized, and showing how his Caesar's people got taken and put into here, and Caesar was so obsessed with killing the colonel that he forgot about his people and needed to protect them. And that was such a great element to see, and how he redeems their love back and all this. It really was a great thing to see in here, and War of the Planet of the Apes, there's nothing more than I can say that it's just a fantastic film overall. And without that minor flaw with Woody Harrelson, I would have given it a perfect score. I think this film is perfectly paced, with a slow pace that's very hard to pull off, but I think Matt Reeves did it phenomenally. The script is well realized, and the CGI on here is top-notch, probably the best CGI I've seen in a very long time. I really hope to see the score win at the Oscars, depending on what movies we get later this year. And I also want to see the CGI win, because when you get those up-close shots with the monkeys, when it's just on their face and you can see the expression in their eyes and see what they are caring about, it shows how much further the environment, how much the CGI has been done with, and how much further we've gotten in the future. I mean, think about it. A couple years ago, we would never have been able to see the motion in a monkey's eyes and really care. It's all about the eyes, and that's what I think about in CGI, and that's what this film performed well. Pretty much I just went 1 to 3, and that's very cool to see that in a trilogy, 1, 2, and 3, it goes worst to best automatically for me. I get that a lot in these films, and this is kind of just me wanting to gush about the trilogy overall. This trilogy is going to end up being with the Nolans, the Toy Stories, and even the Godfathers. I think this trilogy is going to be one of the best, and really I'm just so happy to have seen this movie come full realized, and that we get a really good ending to the trilogy, because usually the third movie is always the worst. Not saying it's a bad movie, but usually it's the one that kind of just makes us disappointed. But it looks like, for me at least, it really did surprise me with just how much love went into this franchise, and I'm excited to see where they take this franchise overall. But guys, tell me down below, what is your ranking of the Planet of the Apes, and also tell me down below, where do you want this franchise to go? I want to talk about this. I want to see where you guys think. Obviously, there will be spoilers in the comments down below, so if you're not caught up to War for the Planet of the Apes, you might want to stay out of the comments, because I think if we're going to talk about where we're going next, that's where the comments are going to be talking about. Alright guys, if you like this and you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. That way you guys get notified when I make more videos. Other than that, guys, have a great rest of your guys' weekend and enjoy the rest of your guys' day.